Taiwan is the place where the uneasy peace between the US and China will be tested and possibly broken. China has wanted Taiwan for decades, and the United States has sustained deterrence through overwhelming military power. As the situation evolves, it's becoming riskier. And a collapse of deterrence over Taiwan would mean the end of the world order as we know it. US alliances tested like never before, a global financial crisis, and possibly a depression. We need to prevent this from happening, and we need to prevent a crisis that would take us to the brink. I came to write this book because there's a lot of people in Washington who are experts in particular parts of this problem. But it's one of the most complex challenges that we've ever confronted in foreign policy, because it integrates not only military issues, but economic issues, diplomatic issues, technology issues. And the goal of this book is to put the pieces together. The book took about 4 years to write. It started in 2021 when I came to a friend of mine, an expert on naval history, and I said, listen, I don't understand this balance in the Taiwan Strait, but it seems like China is getting significantly more powerful. What should I read to understand what's happening? And he says, well, I can send you about 1,000 articles, but there's no one book that puts all the pieces together. And so began this collaboration of two historians with very different backgrounds, trying to understand a common picture. November of 2023, I was invited to Beijing by China's foreign ministry. And because I was working on a book about Taiwan deterrence, I didn't know if I would ever be able to go back again. It was a crisp autumn day. And so shortly before my flight out, I took the subway to Tiananmen Square to go to the National Museum, where they have this exhibit called Road to Rejuvenation. And in 2018, he added this glitzy new annex that explains why his new era is bringing China inexorably forward, out of the century of humiliation and towards national rejuvenation, which basically means putting China at the forefront of every domain of human activity, from high technology to sports. It's just a monument to the scale and scope of his ambition, and also the real achievements that he can boast about. But what's interesting about that exhibit is Taiwan is suspiciously absent. There's no mention of Taiwan in Xi Jinping's new annex, and there's not like a space in the exhibit or a corner that they're saving for when they unify with Taiwan. And in the book, I argue that's actually very significant, because it reminds us that his ambition is a double-edged sword. Taiwan is the keystone in the arch of national rejuvenation. For so many reasons, if Xi Jinping is the guy who takes Taiwan, he can ride off into the sunset. But if he chooses to roll the iron dice, it puts everything else that he cares about at risk. And if we want to think about how to deter the worst, we need to show him that the United States and our allies think that there is a place in the world for a strong and prosperous and powerful and technologically advanced China. There's just aspects of his vision that run contrary to our interests, and that the best way to pursue his goals is through patience and restraint and diplomacy, not through force. My PhD advisor, Rana Mitter, formerly of Oxford, now at Harvard, is one of the leading experts on the history of modern China. And Rana has a wonderful book called Forgotten Ally that talks about the legacy of World War II, or the Pacific War, in the US-China relationship. The US and China were allies then. China played an essential role in defeating Japan and securing an honorable peace in the post-war world. But today, the US and China remember that war very differently. And in fact, the profoundly different memories of that war shape some of our tensions today. I've learned a great deal from Rana, not just about the substance of the history, but also how to write how to communicate across disciplinary lines, how to speak for general readers and policymakers, as well as for academics.